We are now on chapter 6. I'm going to be the driver, and Asanda is going to be my navigator. In this chapter, we look at how we implement forms in React using an external library called Formik. So using Formik helps us with the annoying parts of having to build a form, especially one that has a lot of validation and input fields. It helps us to keep our code organized. So the first thing that we do is we install Formik with the following command here: npm install formik --save. Then after that, on our user form.js, we should have code like this. As you can see here. Excuse me. So after that, we import the necessary Formik components that we will be using. So we have the Formik component with its initial value attribute. So initial values populates the initial field values of the form, and then it makes these values available to the render method as values, maybe like values.email, values.password, right? It's this part of the validate function here. And then we have the validate function to validate the form's values. We first initialize an empty errors object to store the error messages. We check if the email is empty, the email field is empty, using this code right here. And then we assign errors.email to be required, as you can see here. Then we check if the email is a valid email address with the following expression here. So we have a onSubmit form submission handler, which we pass in the form's values, and a promise which shows an alert box with the submitted form values in a JSON object. As you can see here, that's what we have. Then when you fill an invalid email address, the validation error message invalid email address appears, right? And then to add some custom validation to check for email and password minimum length, we add the code below here, which is this else if statement here. And then we check if the email length is less than 10, following which we assign errors.email with the appropriate error message. We do a similar validation for the password field with the code below here, the required and all of that. Let me just scroll like this. As you can see here, right? And it tells you if your password is too short, right, or email address or anything like that. And then we change the error message font color to red to make it bold also. Then we add, to do that we have to add a span tag to it. As you can see here, we have these span styles here, right? We have this span tags here, and then this is what our password is going to look like. So if we test it, I'm just going to, and then I'm just going to enter one character. So you see password too short in red and in bold also. Yeah, so in this chapter, we learned how to create a form using the Formik library. We learned how to handle form inputs, show specific form field validation errors, and perform form submission. So after submitting a form, we need to persist the data by calling the API endpoint of the server. We will begin to explore how to communicate with the server in the next chapter. Thank you. I was the driver and Asanda was the navigator.